Hey folks, good afternoon. Country Boy Patriot News here again. We're going to talk about Donald Trump Jr. and Ivanka Trump Jr. As most of you guys know already at this point, she has been, or they have been, subpoenaed by the Attorney General of New York in conjunction with the ongoing investigation into their tax fraud case. Uh, it's just mind-boggling that that this is even a shock to some people. Of course, they're going to be subpoenaed. Why wouldn't they be? They are the top dogs in the organization. They are in every promotional video. They sign the documents that close the deals. Um, Now, I guarantee you, pretty much, if they go before a grand jury or if they go before a deposition, it's going to be, I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't know, I don't think I have any information. They're just going to play dumb. These folks aren't stupid. Um, but I will say this. I'm shocked and surprised that this is really the biggest case against them all is the tax fraud in regards to the valuations of their properties. Um, this isn't surprising. I think most developers of any kind of real estate, uh, or even simple homeowners, try to get the most value for their property when they're trying to sell it or get a loan. Um, and when it comes to taxes, they try to undervalue it as best they can, legally, of course, within their whatever is legally optional or available to them. Just think about when you go to put your house on the market or your condo. Uh, you dress it up as nice as you can. You polish everything, because you want the best price available. Now, when you go and actually try to get your taxes done up for the property, if you try to have your taxes reevaluated, you're going to say, well, listen, it's not really all that great. It's not worth that much. Instead of a 3 bedroom, it's really a 2 bedroom with a big closet. That third bathroom isn't really a bathroom. This isn't news to anybody. This isn't surprising to anybody. And I think that they really need to start making sure that these charges stick. Because if this is the best they've got, and again, these are civil, they're just going to pay a fine. No one's going to go to jail. Um, you know, so it's not surprising that they're trying to fight it. Uh, so we'll see how that goes. Um, I think they really need to start just giving over the documents, give up their father. What's the point? He's going to be dead in a few years. I mean, what are they looking to do? They're going to inherit the business anyway. What's he going to do? Leave it to charity? Of course not. It's going to go directly to them or the creditors. Not to mention the $100 million deal that he made on the uh, Trump Hotel in Washington D.C. at the old post office building. They sold it to some other hotel company. I forget who it was, but they're making a huge killing on that. So that'll be scrutinized. They're going to have to make sure they pay taxes on that as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. But again, this is all civil. None of this really matters. They'll just pay the fines and that'll be it. Now they already are the laughing stock of the country. No one with any real grain of salt of uh, of respect for themselves really socializes with them, unless they're just sycophants and trying to get into the public eye a little bit, trying to get in the mix and trying to get to know them a little bit. To see what kind of grifting they can do. Because in New York they've left. They're persona non grata in New York for the most part. Uh, they live in Florida now with Daddy. And who do they hang out with? I mean, I can only imagine. They're like Melania. They're really pariahs. They hang out in their own little tiny little world. No one wants to be associated with them because they're just gross. They're just dirty. I mean, it's like, when you see a dirty person on the street. Now, granted, there could be 1,000 reasons why they're dirty, but you step away from them, typically. And I know that sounds awful and cruel, but we all do it. We're all guilty of it. When there's that crazy, stinky person on the subway or the bus, you don't sit next to them if there's an open seat somewhere else. That's kind of how the Trumps are. They're dirty. They're stinky. They're They're not good people. Oh, and I just saw on the online today that what Trump Jr. and that what is her girlfriend's name? His girlfriend's name. They've been engaged for over a year, and now it's just coming to light supposedly. Congratulations to them. And she was also engaged, if not married to, I don't remember, to Gavin Newsom in California. I thought that was the strangest thing. So many people are interconnected in that little world, but she's just gross anyway. Do you remember her big speech at the RNC or the Democrat or Republican National Convention during the election or before the election? And she's out there screaming and yelling. She's crazy too. She's just another one of those crazy people. So now that they have been subpoenaed, they're going to have to supposedly, submit documentation, submit to depositions. Now they're trying to fight it in court. They're going to try to drag it out. They're following Daddy's playbook because they have lawyers on the payroll for the most part. So they just file, lawsuit after lawsuit, objection after objection, just to delay and delay and delay. They all want to delay it as long as they can, obviously. They want to try to get Daddy back into office in 2024. If he runs, I don't think he's gonna. He's just going to drag it out as long as he can to get as much press and as much airtime because he doesn't care about the Republican Party. He doesn't. He's just doing this all for himself. He could care less about Republicans. He can care less about Democrats, independents. He really doesn't care about rich people or even poor people, really. He only cares about himself. And that's apparent. And I think we've all known that. Most people acknowledge it, even Republican sycophants and those crazy 35% of the base. They know that he's only in it for themselves or for himself, but they're willing to look past it because they think he is their messiah for some reason. I don't understand why. But it is going to be one of those things where he's just going to drag out this process all the way through up until the last minute that he can for 2024 election cycle. Who knows who will run? DeSantis is currently holding back any decision making because he doesn't want to tick off Trump. Ted Cruz has kind of talked about running because he said he was number 2 in line for the 2020 election, or nomination, I guess. But Trump, obviously was president, or that was the 2016, excuse me. So we're really going to have to wait and see how this is all going to play out. With the ongoing investigations into Trump, the Trump organization, the numerous lawsuits that are against Trump personally, I think there was in the news today 4 or 6 more Capitol police officers have filed suit against former President Trump in regards to the January 6th insurrection and the amount of violence and trauma and injuries that they incurred and suffered under because of Trump's rhetoric. Because we all saw Trump up there on the stage. We all saw him say, "We're going to walk down. I'm going with you down to the Capitol." You have to fight like hell. Rudy Giuliani was saying, trial by combat. And what did Trump say? You have to fight like hell because if you don't fight, you won't have a country left. Okay? We all know what he tried to do. And now we know that during the insurrection, after he left the stage, he went back to the White House and sat there in the dining room next to the Oval Office, and probably ate a Big Mac while all that was going on and just watched it and loved it, smiled, grinned, drank his Diet Coke, loved every second of it. And we all know that he told McCarthy over the phone, "I guess these people care more about the election than you do." His own daughter went in there at least twice, I guess, to say, "Hey, Daddy, please stop the violence. Please go on TV, go into the briefing room. Please stop the violence." He just didn't. He just stuffed his face, French fry, chicken nugget, fish fillet, because we know he likes fish fillet. So that's what he did. Trump Jr. texted, "Please stop this. Please stop this. He's got to do an Oval Office address. He's got to do something." Sean Hannity, can he go on TV and say something? Laura Ingraham, he's ruining his legacy. The other psychopaths over there at Fox News, get him on TV. Stop the violence. Stop this. Do something. But President Trump just sat there and did nothing. So with the ongoing lawsuits that are happening and ongoing daily, it's just going to be madness again. And this comes back to the media, and I've talked about the media in my other videos. the media loves this just as much as Trump does. They love being in the news. They love being in the news. They love making the story. They love the clickbait. Um, and again, I've said the media is really responsible for Trump altogether. Had they not given him the platform that they gave him during the 2016 cycle, the amount of free airtime that they gave him, because again, it was a train wreck. When he came down those escalators, they knew this was the biggest white trash event that you ever saw in your life. They loved it. They knew it was going to be as ghetto as possible. And don't forget, all those people supporting and cheering during that moment when he came down the escalator, they were paid to be there. So let's not forget that either. So it's going to be an interesting amount of time. So we're going to have to see how this all goes. But it's coming, folks. It's coming. More craziness every day. The 2022 election cycle has begun. It's going to be crazy. And if the Democrats lose the House and if they lose the Senate, who knows what's going to happen, folks? Who knows? We already know the majority of Republican red states are trying to take away as many voting rights as possible from minorities, black and brown people, poor people in general. This is happening across the country. There are more red states than there are blue states, more or less, obviously. 2 senators in Alabama, 2 senators in Alaska. They control so much, even though they have the least population in the states. When it comes to Alabama, Mississippi, these states have so much power. Okay, when it comes to electoral college, when it comes to the votes, when it comes to voting rights, because they're Republican legislatures too, Republican governors, Republican secretaries of states, and how many of them are going to stand up to Trump and to the right-wing craziness like you had in Georgia when you had the Georgia Secretary of State use common sense and be a real patriot and say, hey, you know what, we're going to follow the letter of the law. 500 votes here, 450 votes here. We're not going to play the numbers. We're not going to play the games. If these votes are valid, these votes are valid. If these votes aren't valid, these votes aren't valid. You match a signature, you match a name, it matches. It works. It's a legal vote. That's going to be in jeopardy now. There are legislatures that are passing laws that are going to allow them to step in and overrule county election officials and just basically deny the rules and laws that they had set in place. Because they say, hey, we're going to take control. They're going to have people in the counting rooms, because normally in the counting rooms where they count the votes, you have Republican watchers, you have independent watchers, and you have Democratic watchers, and you also have federal not lawmakers, but watchers and a whole bunch of people watching the vote count. So it's all being monitored. But it's going to stop. They're going to try to stop it. So they're going to be able to say, okay, hey, we're not going to take these votes. We're going to take these votes instead. And they're just going to vote it out, and it's going to be a mess. So more to come, folks. We're just going to have to wait and see. More to come, guys. Talk to you soon.